Welcome to Legacy Black Power. 21 Black R&B legends who tragically lost their looks. Some faces once lit up a room before the spotlights ever touched them. Some lips were praised as if painted by God himself. But time and the unforgiving machinery of Hollywood has taken 21 stars who once defined beauty and left them broken, scarred, and unrecognizable. One goddess lost her voice forever after doctors removed her larynx, her face reshaped by 6 brutal surgeries. Another, a breathtaking icon of the 1970s, died alone, her legs amputated, her features swollen beyond anything the world remembered. This isn't just a list of 21 fallen beauties. It's a haunting memorial to women who were worshipped, exploited, and ultimately abandoned by an industry that devours its own. Are you ready to confront the truth the world has spent decades trying to bury? Fontella Bass. Fontella Bass, the goddess of light who was slowly swallowed by the darkness she once fought. In her prime, audiences called her the goddess of salvation, because her voice didn't just entertain, it lifted people out of despair. When Fontella unleashed Rescue Me in 1965, America stopped. That voice felt like heaven cracking open, pouring hope onto anyone who needed saving. But no one imagined that the woman who once illuminated the world would one day fade into loneliness and shadows. Born into poverty in St. Louis, Missouri, Fontella grew up under the strict rules of the church and the harsh reality of racial injustice. Those pressures forged a voice unlike any other. Half sacred gospel, half burning R&B fire. Rescue Me wasn't just a hit. It was her soul pleading for help, disguised as a chart-topping anthem. A warning no one heard until it was too late. She climbed toward the top and then vanished almost without a trace. After leaving chess records, Fontella was swept into a life of housework, sacrifice, and silence. Fame evaporated. Opportunity dried up. The world moved on. Then came 2005. At a small reunion in her childhood church, people gasped. No one recognized her. The woman standing quietly in the corner had patchy hair from medication, swollen cheeks from chronic kidney disease, and red, weary eyes dulled by diabetes. Clara Jones, her high school best friend, cried as she remembered that moment. I saw her lips and my heart broke. Those were the lips that sang the words that saved me from divorce, from depression. But Fontella said nothing. She only smiled, a fragile, trembling smile. Clara was there for it all. Fontella's first stroke, the night she collapsed into a coma from blood pressure complications, the emergency call that came far too late. Many in the industry once accused Fontella of quitting early, but few knew the truth. The predatory contracts, the denied health insurance, the savings drained to care for her mother and children. The music industry that once worshipped her voice abandoned her the moment she was no longer young, glamorous, or marketable. In 2012, Fontella Bass died after decades of quiet suffering. When the local paper printed the last photo of her, fans were stunned. Was that really Fontella? The cloudy eyes, the sunken cheeks, the wrinkled skin, the lips that once carried a nation, suddenly reduced to a silent shadow. But look closer. Beneath the illness, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the years of being forgotten, something still glowed. A warmth, a softness, a light that never fully went out. Because true beauty doesn't live in skin or fame. It lives in the soul. And in the deepest part of Fontella Bass's soul, she is still singing, still saving, still calling out to a world that never truly understood the angel it lost. Vicki Anderson. Vicki Anderson, the woman whose iron-sharp gaze once commanded the stage. If there was ever a voice powerful enough to make James Brown's entire band stop mid-note just to listen, it was hers. Vicki didn't sing. She sliced through silence like a blade. Fierce, fiery, unmistakable. But no one could have imagined what time would later do to her. How the beauty that once stunned crowds would fade so drastically that even her own fans would fail to recognize her. Born in 1939 in Texas, Vicki found her voice in church as a teenager. When James Brown discovered her, she became the soul of his international tours. Not just a singer, but a force of nature. With glowing reddish-brown skin, full iconic lips, and eyes that burn like embers, she was a style icon before the word even existed. Then she stepped away from the spotlight to care for her family and her husband, artist Bobby Bird. Behind closed doors, she quietly battled a devastating bone and joint disease that few knew about. In 2010, at a James Brown tribute ceremony in Georgia, a frail woman in a wheelchair sat behind a row of honorees. Her face sagged to one side. Her lips drooped. Her left eye had collapsed completely. When the MC announced Vicki Anderson, the crowd didn't clap. They didn't realize the legend was sitting right in front of them. Her daughter later said, "My mother covered her face every time she left the house. She didn't look in the mirror for years." A woman who once made the whole stage rise to its feet was now terrified of being seen. Hospitalized repeatedly for joint fusion, pneumonia, and complications from years of painkillers, Vicki suffered in silence. After 1975, she rejected countless reunion invitations because she believed she was no longer beautiful, no longer worthy of the stage she once ruled. And so the music world that once crowned her a goddess quietly forgot her, as if she had never existed. No one spoke of her illness. No one mentioned the times she collapsed backstage from unbearable pain. And when she passed away in 2023, the photo used in newspapers was a decades-old picture from the 70s, because there was no recent image the world deemed beautiful enough. The truth is simple. No one wanted the public to see what time had done to their goddess. But true music lovers never forgot. To them, Vicki Anderson was never ugly, never diminished. She was a scream of emotion in the dark, a warrior woman who bled for her art and never once apologized for it. Marva Whitney. Marva Whitney was more than a singer. She was a warrior whose fire lit up every stage she touched. Known as a funky diva, she carried a thunderous voice and an iron spirit, standing shoulder to shoulder with James Brown as crowds roared beneath the bright, burning lights. But in the end, it wasn't fame or failure that broke her. It was one tragic fall that stole the face and the fire the world once knew. Born in 1944 in Kansas City, Marva grew up in the split world between gospel purity and funk rebellion. Like many black women in music, she fought twice as hard for half the respect. In 1969, she turned down a lucrative European tour to care for her dying mother, a heartbreaking decision that stalled her rising star but revealed the depth of her loyalty. For decades later, in 2009, the unthinkable happened. While performing in a small Tokyo club, Marva suddenly collapsed on stage. A stroke, swift, merciless, and devastating. When she was flown back to America, the left side of her face was paralyzed. One eye refused to open. Her mouth pulled sharply to one side. The woman who once commanded stages now stared into a mirror and whispered, trembling, "Who am I?" "I used to be Marva Whitney." A former bandmate later admitted, "When I saw her after the stroke, I froze." That wasn't the Marva who could shut down the whole studio with one scream if someone missed a chord. Her voice was gone literally and figuratively. During the final year of her life, Marva lived quietly in a small nursing home in Missouri. No fans, no cameras, no bright lights, just silence. Nurses had no idea she once toured the world with James Brown. Her face had withered, her hair had thinned, and her voice was nothing more than a fragile whisper drifting through the halls. But one afternoon, a nurse played her old recording, "It's My Thing," and for a moment, just a moment, the warrior returned. She couldn't smile, but her eyes flickered with a spark, as if the stage lights had come back on one last time. Marva Whitney didn't lose her battle to a stroke. She faded because the world forgot her. A warrior who poured her soul into every note, screamed through pain and passion, and sang until her throat burned with fire, only to be remembered too late. Barbara Mason, the muse who turned to stone in her own mirror. Barbara Mason once defined the sound of aching love. With her smooth caramel skin, cloud-soft hair, and those heartbreakingly gentle eyes, she didn't just sing to the soul, she wounded it. One line from her iconic hit, "Yes, I'm Ready," could silence an entire room. She was innocence, beauty, and tender longing wrapped into one. But no one could have imagined that the woman whose face once symbolized pure, youthful grace would one day grow old behind closed doors, hidden by a transformation so drastic her own family struggled to recognize her. The 1960s were Barbara's golden age. But as R&B evolved and the spotlight drifted to newer voices, the stage slowly stopped calling her name. Living quietly in Philadelphia, Barbara felt the applause fade, the invitations shrink, and the world move on without her. The pressure of aging and the fear of being forgotten began to consume her. She once told a close friend, "I feel like I'm disappearing. I just want to be beautiful again, beautiful like before. Just once." In 2005, desperate to reclaim even a spark of her former glow, she turned to surgery, a facelift and a fat transfer. Her doctor warned her. The swelling could be severe, the complications unpredictable. But Barbara signed the papers without hesitation, willing to pay any price to hold on to the woman she used to be. Weeks later, the nightmare unfolded. Swelling crept across her cheeks and forehead. Her left eye began to blur. Her once delicate features shifted into unfamiliar shapes. A clinic worker later recalled the moment Barbara looked into the mirror, standing motionless for 3 long minutes. No tears, no words, only silence. After that day, she disappeared from the world. She turned down reunions, refused photographs, and avoided every public event. Fans waited for a new interview, a new picture, a new anything, but nothing ever came. Some tabloids whispered that Barbara Mason had vanished, but she hadn't. She was still there, living quietly in a small Philadelphia apartment, carrying her sorrow alone. Her face resurfaced only once, a fleeting glimpse in a leaked clip from her private funeral. Viewers were left shaken. Was that really her? The soft lines were gone, replaced with deep marks, swollen lips, and closed eyes that seemed to hold decades of unspoken pain. Yet, even then, one detail remained, a faint wrinkle on her brow, as if she were still humming a song she never got to finish. No one escapes time, but some feel its weight more harshly than others. Barbara Mason was one of them. She loved music. She loved the spotlight. She loved beauty. But in her fight to preserve what the world once praised, she lost a piece of herself along the way. Her story isn't just tragic. It's a quiet, powerful reminder. True worth isn't in the face we show the world, but in the heart that still knows how to beat. Ruby Andrews. Ruby Andrews, the woman who flew through the windshield. Once, she was a quiet symbol of Chicago soul. Her beauty wasn't the glamorous, spotlight-ready kind. It was softer, almost rebellious, like a stubborn flower forcing its way through cracked concrete. And that voice, the voice behind Casanova, "Your playing days are over," still makes fans remember her half-squinted eyes and that unmistakable, tilted smile. But anyone who saw Ruby after 1994 would never believe she was the same woman. On a cold, rainy night in November, Ruby was driving home from a small reunion of old-school soul artists. Out of nowhere, an SUV barreled through a red light and smashed into her car. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The impact threw her forward. Her face slammed into the windshield before her body tumbled onto the wet pavement. The crash didn't kill her, but it took away the face that had captured so many hearts. Doctors at Northwestern Hospital worked for 8 straight hours. Her jaw was shattered, her cheekbone broken, blood pooled behind her eye. Nerves in her face were torn beyond repair. When she finally woke up, half her face no longer moved. Her lips shook when she tried to speak. Her left eye could no longer close. A longtime fan, Mr. Gary, who had admired Ruby for 3 decades, ran into her at a pharmacy. His voice still cracks when he describes a moment. "I didn't recognize her. Her hair was cut short. Her cheek was swollen, and her lips drooped. I froze, but she knew me, and she smiled. God, that smile hurt." After the accident, Ruby disappeared from the stage. Her body healed in time, but her confidence never did. Record labels stopped calling. Fans stopped asking. The world simply moved on, and that silence cut deeper than any glass ever could. Ruby spent the rest of her life in a small apartment, living off social assistance, refusing cameras, refusing interviews. For many, it was as if she had vanished. But the truth is, not all deaths happen in an instant. Some are slow, carved by every stare, every whisper, every mirror you can no longer bear to face. Yet Ruby kept living, kept walking, kept smiling. though her smile was no longer the one the world remembered. We often love people for who they used to be, but real love, real respect, is seeing someone after life has taken everything from them and honoring them anyway. Ruby Andrews is proof that true beauty isn't in perfect cheekbones or a flawless smile, but in the courage to step out of the darkness, even when the world no longer recognizes you. Thelma Houston. Thelma Houston, the angel of fire who dimmed her own spotlight to survive. In the golden age of disco, Thelma wasn't just a singer, she was a force. Those bright, round eyes, the wild curls, the electric presence, she lit up every dance floor on earth. Don't Leave Me This Way didn't just top charts. It became a heartbeat of a generation. But few ever knew the truth behind the flame. Her fire didn't fade because of fame or age. It was stolen by a silent enemy, cancer. In early 2009, just as Thelma was preparing a triumphant return to the stage, doctors delivered the devastating news. Breast cancer, aggressive treatment, brutal chemotherapy, and radiation. Yet Thelma told no one. She kept smiling under wigs and heavy makeup, hiding the swelling, hiding the darkening skin, hiding the pain. She still showed up at events, posing gracefully while her body was quietly collapsing behind the scenes. By 2011, the treatments began carving away the woman the world remembered. Her eyelashes and eyebrows fell out. Her face ballooned from water retention. Makeup couldn't mask the devastation anymore. One former assistant recalled, "Some mornings she'd stare in the mirror and just break down. Her eyes barely opened. Her lips were cracked. Her skin faded. She whispered, 'If I'm not beautiful anymore, will they still listen to me sing?'" In 2013, at a reunion of legendary performers in Las Vegas, Thelma appeared, but almost unrecognizable. Hat pulled low, sunglasses, a scarf covering half her face. Most people walked right past, never knowing the disco queen stood inches away. A photographer tried to capture her image. She quietly stepped back and slipped out after 10 minutes, as if she were protecting the world from seeing her suffering. The treatments eventually worked. The cancer was controlled. But Thelma never returned to the spotlight, not the way she once did. She stayed in Los Angeles, living gently, quietly, granting almost no interviews. The photos you see of her today are old, polished, preserved, fragments of the woman who once set music on fire. Thelma Houston did not die from illness, but she allowed her iconic image to fade gracefully, choosing dignity over public scrutiny, choosing peace over applause. And there's a lesson in that. Not everyone gets to keep their beauty forever, but everyone has a right to keep their dignity. We cannot stop time, but we can face it on our own terms, just like Thelma did. Linda Jones. Linda Jones, the angel whose voice once silenced the world. When Linda sang Hypnotized, people said time stopped. Her voice wasn't just powerful. It felt heavenly, cutting through pain and pulling every soul in the room into her orbit. She was breathtaking, not only for her elegant beauty, but for the way she closed her eyes during those long, aching notes, as if she were reaching for something sacred and far beyond this world. But that angelic glow was slowly dimming, quietly, secretly, long before she ever reached the peak of the greatness she deserved. Born in 1944, Linda began singing professionally at barely 10 years old. She was hailed as R&B's next great hope, the young woman destined to follow in the footsteps of Dionne Warwick and Aretha Franklin. But beneath her slim frame and radiant presence, a silent killer was eating away at her every single day: diabetes. Linda kept her illness hidden, even from people who loved her. One old friend said, "She always wore sunglasses on stage, not for fashion." Some nights her eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion, from her sugar levels crashing. She didn't want anyone to see how much pain she was in. She hid with makeup and a smile. In 1972, while waiting backstage at the Apollo Theater for her cue, Linda suddenly collapsed in the dressing room. Staff found her unconscious, barely breathing, her skin pale, one cheek swollen, her lips cracked. The vibrant young woman who once held audiences breathless was now slipping away in silence. Linda Jones died at just 27 years old from diabetic complications. Only 3 months earlier, she had still been on stage, singing like royalty, standing tall even as her body crumbled inside. No one in the industry ever told her to rest. No one dared suggest a break. Because in that era, a young black woman wasn't allowed to be tired, much less sick. She had to sparkle, perform, smile, even as she was dying. Linda left the world too soon, taken with her a voice that could have changed the future of soul music. She left behind heartbreak, yes, but also a powerful truth. No career is worth your life. And sometimes the greatest courage isn't pushing through the pain. It's whispering, I need a break. Love your body before it collapses. Shirley Brown. Shirley Brown once had eyes that could slice through a room, sharp, commanding, unforgettable. When she sang Woman to Woman, her gaze didn't just meet you, it cut straight through you. She was beautiful, fierce, and fully in control, at least on stage. But behind the curtain was a woman fighting a battle she never let the world see. After turning 40, Shirley's body began to change. Hormonal issues caused her to gain weight quickly, and critics had no mercy. She stayed silent, swallowing every harsh comment. One band member remembered a rehearsal where she suddenly sat down mid-song. Struggling to breathe, she forced a smile and whispered, I'm just a little tired. But her swollen face, flushed cheeks, and tiny rashes told a different story. Like many black artists of her era, Shirley hid her illness. She didn't trust doctors. She feared losing roles, losing opportunities, losing respect. So she carried the weight alone. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fatty liver, years of complications with almost no treatment. By the early 2000s, her face began to change dramatically. Her cheeks sagged. Her eyes stayed puffy. Her neck looked swollen. Rumors swirled about facelifts and cosmetic surgery. The truth was far sadder. No surgery, just the harsh side effects of corticosteroids and a weakening liver. Shirley avoided cameras. She refused close-up shots, demanded dim lighting, and after one rare close-up during a performance, she broke down backstage. Yet she never complained. She never lashed out. She simply stepped back into the shadows, leaving fans with a memory of the woman whose eyes once shone like fire. People rarely speak about her face in her final years, not because it was ugly, but because it was unrecognizable, as if time had carved its own story across her soul. But even as her appearance faded, her legacy did not. Shirley Brown reminds us that eyes can lose their light, faces can change, bodies can fail. But music, real music, never grows old. And sometimes the thing most worth protecting isn't beauty, but dignity, self-respect, and the quiet courage to love ourselves, even as the world looks away. Jean Knight, the powerhouse behind the Pink Lights and the unforgettable anthem Mr. Big Stuff. In the 1970s, her smoky, sultry voice and fierce confidence made America sit up and ask, who do you think you are? She was full-bodied beauty, charisma, and brains wrapped into one unstoppable woman. But as the decades passed, that same body that once made her iconic became a weight she carried alone, and the spotlight that adored her quietly dimmed. Jean had battled her weight her entire life. Industry executives urged her to slim down for more roles, more opportunities, more fame. But she refused. I'm beautiful the way I am, she would say. And she meant it. Yet age brought harsher challenges. Metabolic disorders, type 2 diabetes, and hypothyroidism. Conditions that ravage her health and sent her weight spiraling beyond her control. In her final years, Jean vanished from public life. She hardly ever left the house, a New Orleans neighbor recalled. She only went out after dark, when no one could recognize her. Her once radiant face had become swollen, her skin darkened and scarred by diabetes complications. Painful ulcers covered her legs and cheeks, demanding constant medication. Music venues stopped calling. No one wanted to see the 70s sex symbol leaning on crutches under stage lights. And so the industry forgot her. Because her beauty had faded, they acted as if she had disappeared too. One quiet night in 2009, her niece remembered finding Jean sitting alone in the dark, flipping through old photo albums. Jean whispered, "That's me? I don't dare look in the mirror anymore." A woman who once dominated radio, who once carried herself like a queen, could no longer face her own reflection. Jean Knight passed away in 2010. The photo used in her obituary was an old portrait, airbrushed, brightened, softened. Her real appearance in her final years was never shown. Not because she wasn't worthy, but because the world refuses to accept that beauty evolves, that legends age. Jean's story isn't about fading looks. It's about the cruel truth that society only celebrates women when they fit a standard. But Jean Knight remained Jean Knight, a fighter, a voice of pride, a woman who carved her place in music history with undeniable force. And in the end, she leaves us with a message that outshines any spotlight. Never let the world decide your worth by the way you look. Betty Wright, a blazing flame trapped inside a fading frame. Once, she was pure vitality. The powerhouse behind Cleanup Woman, the woman whose voice shook rooms and whose smile lit entire stages. Betty wasn't just a singer, she was a force. A warrior draped in soul and fire. But behind the spotlight, another battle was quietly consuming her. A battle she chose to fight alone. Cancer. Betty was diagnosed with uterine cancer in the early 2010s, yet she whispered it to no one except a handful of loved ones. On stage, she performed like nothing was wrong. Off stage, her body was breaking piece by piece. Those who worked with her began to notice the truth she tried so hard to hide. A stage assistant recalled how fragile she become, how she wore multiple layers just to disguise her shrinking frame. Her face thinned, her eyes softened with exhaustion, but every night, she smiled and she sang as if pain had no power over her. Her final public appearances stunned fans around the world. The vibrant, radiant Betty they'd grown up with had become a shadow, skin paper thin, hair fallen away from the chemo, her once glowing beauty dim but never erased. When asked why she never spoke about her illness, she simply replied, "I don't want the audience to remember me as weak." Betty Wright passed away in 2020. In her last months, she weighed barely 90 pounds and struggled to walk. Yet even then, she thought of others. She asked her son to record her laughter. "If I'm gone, play this," she said. So, someone remembers I was a flame. Her story is heartbreaking, a reminder that even legends are vulnerable to time. But it is also a lesson in grace. True strength is not the absence of suffering, it's choosing to shine anyway. And if you're still here after 10 stories of loss, it means your heart feels deeply. But what comes next will break it even more. Before you go on, ask yourself one question. If these artists had been men, would the world have judged their decline so harshly? Millie Jackson. The woman who always told the truth, even when no one bothered to ask if she was okay. To the world, she was a straightforward queen of R&B. Bold, hilarious, sharp-tongued, and unapologetically sexy. On stage, she owned the room with her firecracker personality and street-smart humor. But behind that fierce facade was a woman quietly being worn down by time, heartbreak, and the weight of survival. Millie endured turbulent relationships, the crushing responsibility of raising a child alone, industry backlash for her, too real performance style, and relentless attacks from the press. All those battles eventually carved themselves into her face. Premature wrinkles, damaged skin, and eyes that carried more exhaustion than sparkle. According to her former manager, Millie struggled for years with chronic anxiety, but never sought real help. Instead, she pushed through nights with a cocktail of sleeping pills, painkillers, and caffeine. Anything to stay awake long enough to finish another grueling show. By the early 2000s, fans were stunned. She appeared with a swollen face, thin reddish skin and hollow, sorrowful eyes that hinted at too many nights spent crying alone. She still performed, but avoided cameras like they were enemies. Once, a reporter asked why she no longer smiled the way she used to. Millie's reply was simple and heartbreaking. "Because I have nothing to laugh about." Millie didn't fall apart in one dramatic moment. She faded slowly, right in front of a world that stopped paying attention. The same industry that once cheered her raw honesty abandoned her when exhaustion replaced beauty, when pain replaced marketability. Today, most people wouldn't even recognize her. But the truth is worth more than a flawless face. Millie Jackson lived honestly, spoke honestly, and carried a loneliness so real it deserves respect. That far more than glamour or youth, is what makes Millie Jackson a legend worth honoring. Miki Howard, the princess who vanished into the shadows of her own mind. Miki Howard was once the very image of elegance, brown-skinned beauty as delicate as a porcelain doll, eyes shimmering with untold stories, and a voice so pure it felt like fresh water poured into the desert of soul music. For a moment in time, she was untouchable, a star who glowed from every angle. But less than a decade after her peak, that glow dimmed. And it wasn't accident or illness or scandal that ruined her. It was the darkness no one could see. Miki loved deeply, but she loved the wrong man. When that relationship exploded in violence and heartbreak, she spiraled into a depression that swallowed her whole. Sleepless nights pushed her toward drugs, first as a coping mechanism, then as a chain she couldn't break. Add the pressure of maintaining her flawless image, and the downward slide grew sharper. She overused makeup to hide the damage, lost alarming amounts of weight, and relied on alcohol just to steady herself before stepping on stage. One close friend recalled finding her backstage one night. Collapsed on cold floor, makeup smeared, hair tangled, lips cracked from dehydration. And yet, the next morning, she walked out under the lights as if nothing had happened. The show always went on, even when she could barely stand. As the years passed, Miki disappeared from the spotlight, and when she returned, audiences were stunned. The porcelain doll was gone. Her face carried deep stretch marks. Her cheeks were hollow. Her once radiant eyes had dulled to a distant haze. She looked like a woman who had fought a storm for decades and barely made it out alive. A 2016 documentary captured the most heartbreaking moment of all. Miki staring into a mirror and whispering, "I used to be beautiful, but I don't care anymore." It was a sentence that crushed the room and woke people up. Miki Howard's story is a reminder that beauty can be erased by depression, addiction, and wounds the world refuses to see. But surviving that darkness, that creates a different kind of beauty. One no spotlight, no camera, no stage can ever match. Marlena Shaw, the brilliant face that faded in the fog. Marlena Shaw was once the woman with the singing eyes. Her face always carried a spark, like she was seconds away from saying something funny, wise, or beautifully unexpected. And when she opened her mouth to sing, jazz, soul, and funk blended into a sound that felt like sunlight. California's soul made her a legend, but in the final chapter of her life, even those bright, intelligent eyes could no longer recognize the woman in the mirror. As the years passed, Marlena battled a storm of illnesses, high blood pressure, kidney failure, diabetes, and the creeping shadow of dementia. A close friend once recalled finding her staring quietly into a foggy bathroom mirror, whispering, "I don't know who that person is." Her face had changed. Swollen cheeks, sagging skin, and eyes clouded as if covered by mist. The industry that once adored her had long since gone silent. No more record covers. No more concert invitations. The woman once celebrated for her glow now carried a deep ache over what time had taken. In 2024, Marlena slipped away quietly, almost unnoticed by the world she once moved with her voice. Her final photo was never widely shared. It was too different from the Marlena fans kept in their hearts. But here's the truth. Faces fade, but legacies don't. Marlena Shaw reminded us that real beauty has nothing to do with the mirror. It lives in the music you give the world and in the lives you touch along the way. Anita Ward. Anita Ward, princess of disco, trapped in the ruins of a broken dream. For a brief, shining moment, she ruled the dance floor with Ring My Bell, her radiant beauty, velvet soft skin, and warm smile capturing hearts around the world. But when the music faded and the lights dimmed, her world began to collapse, and the first cracks appeared on her face. After her sudden rise, Anita was swept into a storm of contract disputes, betrayal, and a career that evaporated almost as quickly as exploded. Within just 2 years, the industry that crowned her turned its back, leaving her lost, exploited, and fighting to hold on to herself. The emotional toll didn't just break her spirit, it ravaged her body. Anita fell into a devastating eating disorder. Her weight swung wildly. Her once glowing skin sagged. Deep shadows settled under her eyes. Her cheeks hollowed, her neck thinned, and the sparkle that made her a star dimmed to a flicker. A fan who met her in the 2000s recalled, When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Her hair was messy, her dress hung off her small frame, and you could see she'd been crying. The industry never offered her a comeback. No one asked how a woman, who once lifted the world with her voice, could fall so hard. Her youthful face, once joyful, luminous, became marked by exhaustion and an unspoken sadness. Yet even in that fragile, weathered appearance, Anita Ward remains a symbol of something deeper. Fame can rise in a heartbeat, but surviving the fall takes courage most people never see. And in that courage lies her truest beauty. Angela Bofill, the woman whose voice could melt stone, spent her life pouring emotion into every note. With her sharp features, soulful eyes, and that perfectly shaped mouth that delivered classics like I Try and This Time I'll Be Sweeter, she embodied elegance and quiet strength. Fans didn't just hear her, they felt her, but life showed her no mercy. In 2006, Angela endured her first devastating stroke. Half her body went still. Her voice, the instrument that made her a legend, fell silent. She fought her way back, inch by inch, but the mirror no longer reflected the goddess the world remembered. Her face drooped to one side, her smile twisted, and her left eye lost its command. Still, she refused to hide. By 2010, she stepped back onto the stage, not to sing but to exist. She sat beneath the lights, offered gentle smiles, and shared stories instead of songs. It was a different kind of performance, one rooted in courage. Then in 2013, tragedy struck again. A second stroke, this one crueler. Her face swelled, her muscles tightened, her neck stiffened. Medications thickened her skin and blurred the woman she once was. I used to think she was a goddess, a longtime colleague said through tears. But the last time I saw her, I had to fight not to cry. She just sat there, quiet, smiling with the one cheek she could still move. People had heard Angela Bofill sing for decades, but no one ever heard her pain. The industry celebrates you when you shine, but it rarely knows what to do when the lights go out. Angela passed away in 2023, not in the glory she deserved, but in a fragile body that could no longer speak for her. Only the recordings of her youthful voice remained to tell the world who she truly was. Angela Bofill's life is a gentle, haunting reminder. Cherish your body, listen to its warnings, and never let fame drown out the truth of your own suffering. Her voice may be silent now, but the echo of her strength lives on. Mary Wells, the Motown queen who lost her voice, her beauty, and ultimately her place in the spotlight. Once the soft, irresistible voice that helped build the Motown empire, Mary was a vision of grace. Wavy hair, bright eyes, and a smile so warm even Berry Gordy couldn't look away. She was elegance, youth, and promise wrapped into one legendary star. But when laryngeal cancer struck, it didn't just steal her voice. It slowly erased the face the world adored. The illness moved quietly, then cruelly. Surgery after surgery carved away at her neck just to keep her alive, leaving scars that changed her forever. One witness recalled seeing Mary at a small Los Angeles event near the end. She wore a headscarf and oversized sunglasses, her voice barely more than a whisper of air. Her lips were uneven, her neck swollen, and her once silky vocals reduced to a faint breath. The woman who once ruled the radio waves could walk into a room without a single person recognizing her. Her dazzling beauty, the face that launched a million dreams, became only a memory. Mary Wells passed away in 1992, leaving behind more than hit records. She left a haunting reminder. Even angels can fall silent, and behind every timeless song is a human body carrying pain, hope, and a story the world rarely hears. Phyllis Hyman, the proud goddess who fell into the abyss. Phyllis Hyman once walked into any room like royalty, towering, elegant, untouchably beautiful. Her voice melted stages, her poise silenced crowds, and those sorrow-filled eyes carried a mystery that made the world stare. But behind that divine glow was a storm no spotlight could chase away. For years, Phyllis hid her spiraling depression, forcing smiles for audiences while numbing her pain with pills just to make it through another night. By 1995, the walls were closing in. On June 30th, alone in a hotel room, Phyllis took a fatal overdose. When she was found, her once radiant face was hollow, her skin pale, her eyes empty, an echo of the goddess she once was. Her manager later revealed that Phyllis, the woman once carved like a statue, had stopped looking in the mirror entirely during her final years. Today, her breathtaking beauty survives only in faded photographs, while her voice lives on in songs she left behind. The industry applauded her talent, but ignored the quiet cries she buried beneath the music. Phyllis Hyman's tragedy stands as a haunting reminder of how fragile a gifted soul can be in a world obsessed with perfection. Sometimes the price of brilliance is heartbreak, and sometimes the cost is a life. LaVern Baker, the woman who lost her legs, but never her dignity. LaVern Baker wasn't just another voice on the radio. She was the first black woman to roar her way into rock and roll history. A sharp jawline, fierce eyes, and a fire in her voice that could shake a room. But when diabetes struck, life began taking from her piece by piece. First her health, then her legs, and finally, the glamorous face that once stopped men in their tracks. The surgeries were endless and cruel. Her facial muscles tightened, her skin folded into painful wrinkles, her eyes sank, and her lips dried until they cracked. A worker at her New York nursing home once said, "We had to point at old photos just to prove it was really her." Confined to a wheelchair for the last decade of her life, LaVern could have vanished from the world. But she didn't. She still showed up to small events, rolling onto stages where people looked at her with pity, not knowing she was showing more strength in that moment than she ever had before. That is real beauty. That is courage. LaVern Baker didn't simply lose her legs. She gave her entire body to music, and somehow kept every ounce of her dignity until the very end. Etta James, the woman whose voice once set the stage on fire, became a haunting reminder of how fame can burn you from the inside out. In her prime, she was unstoppable. Wild beauty, fierce eyes, and a voice powerful enough to scorch every dark corner it touched. But behind the spotlight glowed a much darker truth. Her life was tangled in addiction, violence, and memories she wished she could outrun. Years of drug battles left her body frail, and her mind drifting in and out of clarity. And when Alzheimer's tightened its grip, the tragedy deepened. A nurse once shared that Etta stared at a photo of her younger self, radiant, fierce, unforgettable, and whispered, "Who is that?" In that moment, even she could no longer find the woman the world adored. By the end, her skin had folded with time, her eyes had dimmed, and the voice that once moved nations had faded into a thin, struggling breath. The legendary fire was now just a flicker, living only in the memories of the fans who loved her. Etta James left this world quietly, reminding us of one harsh truth. Fame can crown you, but it can never protect your soul if the demons you feed begin to devour it. Natalie Cole, once celebrated as the last royal princess of music, lived a life that seemed wrapped in elegance and grace. With her regal beauty, dignified presence, and a voice as smooth as black silk, she carried the weight of a legendary legacy. But behind the shimmering crown was a battle that nearly consumed her. For years, Natalie fought quietly against addiction, then hepatitis C, and finally the cruel grip of kidney failure. The transformation was heartbreaking. The radiant face the world adored grew thin and hollow. Her cheekbones sharpened, her eyes sank deep with exhaustion, her skin turned ashen, and her lips dried like someone fading before your eyes. One close friend admitted, "The last time I saw her, I barely recognized her." Yet Natalie refused to surrender her spirit. She kept singing, kept writing, kept inspiring, even as her body weakened day by day. What began as a symbol of beauty and brilliance became a living story of courage and resilience. In the end, she left this world like a warrior with broken wings, defeated only in body, never in soul. And her final message still echoes: live honestly, live fully, and never let the world's expectations crush who you truly are. Aretha Franklin, an immortal goddess trapped in a body that was slowly falling apart. For decades, she stood as the very symbol of natural beauty. The curls, the glowing skin, the regal grace that made the world bow in admiration. But behind the spotlight, pancreatic cancer crept through her like a silent thief, stealing pieces of her strength day by day. By 2017, when she made her final public appearance, She was only a faint echo of the queen we once knew, frail, impossibly thin, cheeks hollowed, eyes dimmer than ever, her legendary voice reduced to a trembling whisper. A backstage witness later recalled seeing Aretha sit motionless before a mirror, studying herself quietly, then slowly pulling a veil over her face. The beauty once worshipped by millions had become something she no longer recognized. Aretha passed in 2018, leaving the world with a towering legacy and a painful reminder. No matter how great you are, life is fragile. She showed us that what truly deserves protection isn't the image the world sees, but the courage to face hard truths. A fading face doesn't erase a lifetime of greatness. Every wrinkle, every scar is a chapter, a testament to sacrifice, love, brilliance, and resilience. So when we look at the legends who once lit up entire eras, may we see them with compassion, not judgment. Their true beauty never lived in perfection. It lived in their souls. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it. And comment below with the name of the artist you'll never forget. Because sometimes a single memory is enough to keep them alive forever in the hearts of their fans.